I got a similar situation, but it's got a complication because while I was treating her, care had to be cut off because she had a work injury. I was treating her for an auto accident. Then she fell on her back and hit her head at work. And then I don't do work comp, so they took the case away from me. So, this is before I started working with you. So if I order a CRMA now or start doing all this stuff, they could argue it's because of the work-related injury, not the car accident. So I'm just wondering what to do.
No, you're exactly right. And that's what they will do. The insurance company will, that's the argument they will make. That's exactly right.
So do I just tell the attorney I don't think this is a good one for me to testify? Or
no. Without knowing everything about the case, here's one way to handle that one little subject. Now remember, I'm only talking about one little subject because I don't know everything. But what you could do is still do the CRMA, and then you have to do a very good association of the cause and effect, telling the story that I talked about, which was, can you establish the cause and effect relationship? Can you show that the subjective and objective findings were most likely, in your professional opinion, a result of that cause and effect relationship? So I'm still going to do that, number one. And then what was to associate that injury with that case. So the mechanism of injury, the cause and effect relationship, the signs, symptoms, and the objective test, subjective and objective testing. So I'm going to still package that and put it together to show, yes, in my opinion, that injury was from that. Now, what will help and enhance your case is if there was, with the workers' compensation injury, it's just the opposite, or the opposite was minimized. There was no cause and effect relationship to cause such an injury. Here's an example. I'm going to use a gross example. The person had an auto injury, was hit from behind. They got this neck injury. Okay, so I got the symptoms, I've got all that. Now the work injury was a low back injury from lifting. Well, it's going to be very easy for me to go back and do the CRMA and show the cause and effect relationship with the signs and symptoms and point that injury that I now have found to the car injury. And it's also going to be very easy for me to say that the mechanism of injury of a work compensation and the mechanism of injury alone in no way compares to the signs, symptoms, or the objective findings. And so, in my opinion, in no way I would say the workers' compensation injury is due to this injury. So it helps if you can not only tie one together like what we like to do, but that if you can also say the opposite with the work injury to help create a clear distinction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this is going to be tough because she fell and hit her head on the floor.
You're right. So if it's a similar mechanism of injury, yes, now you've got serious problems. What I would still do it, and I would try to apportion it is what I would do. That's what I would go for, is apportioning.
Okay. And then just one more quick question, just to clarify. I want to make sure I understand what you said.
Now remember, one last thing. When you apportion it, I'm just going to take the quantification of my subjective and objective biomarkers, and I'm going to differentiate those and the subjective and objective biomarkers after the workers' compensation injury, and that's how I'm going to segment it out and apportion it.
Right. Yeah, you've taught apportionment before. That makes sense.
But I'd still do it as opposed to not do it, because you got all upside and no downside.
Downside, right. At least I can come with something.